whirlwind. And so when you're vibing, when you're in your center, when you're creating, when you're at that peak, you're in that moment and people just want to be part of that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's just it in of itself.
It's really neat when you're in that zone and in that energy and you can feel it and you can see it.
Yes.
Yes. But there also comes a point in time where it's time for you to learn something. And the only way you learn something is some little form of negativity takes place. And then you see it. And then what I'm talking about is somebody doesn't like your work.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I've been a teacher and I've been, I was on the other side of critiquing and all of that stuff. And one of the things that I noticed was that when you go through these avenues, it's a learning process, and you can't let it personally get to you.
Right.
Although it will, because you're a human being. So you realize, okay, learning time, ding, 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 and then you got to listen. You got to listen.
You do. And sometimes you have to listen to, is it something I need to change? Is it criticism I need to listen to? Or is it just something personal that I'm fighting and I need to get over?
Yeah, and you'll know that in 10 seconds.
Right.
You'll know
and if you don't do it right then and right there,
right.
If you're still going days and weeks later about it, then you're just not in the right place for it.
Right.
Sometimes you just need to walk away.
Yeah, sometimes you do need to walk away. You definitely need to do that. What else you want to know about Michael Rogers?
I know you've been on a journey, and I know you've been in the military. Is that correct?
Yes, 11 years.
And you've been a truck driver.
Yes.
And you've been through a lot of things. And you're not at this point the survivor. You are the creator. You're not in that victim, poor me.
Now I am.
And you've moved past that.
Mm-hmm.
How did you kind of get to this point? Was it a faith thing? Was it something you stumbled on? Or did you just let it all go and walk away?
It was time. I came here with the notion, no matter what, that I wasn't going to quit.
Okay.
I also came here with the attitude that real life was going to happen. There were going to be days where I'm busy and make this kind of money, and then there's going to be slow days, and then there's going to be real life. I didn't know that I was going to have a heart attack in the second year I lived here. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that when my car caught fire, I'm now officially homeless. I didn't know any of that was coming. But I was prepared mentally that this is the avenue that I took. And if I just kept still and be quiet, everything was going to be okay. But you have to go through it.
Right.
Okay. Then I had to have some help.
Right. And stop there for a second. You took the help. You asked for help.
No, they
help.
pushed it. I was very, very hard-headed. I won't ask for anything. A gentleman, fairly wealthy, took me out to lunch, sat me down and said, you need some help. You need some help. And you need the help where I'm not. You don't need any money.
Right.
You need some help.
Right.
He says, I know you're a veteran.
Right.
He says, did you take your DD Form 214 to see if you got any benefits from the Vietnam era? I go, no. He says, do this for me. Mm-hmm. And I said, it's too far away. I mean, Vietnam was way back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Here it is in the 90s. So he says, send it in. I sent it in. And Lord and behold, it came back. I got full medical benefits from being honorably discharged. And that one thing changed. Because the VA found out that I was homeless, called me in, sat me down, and looked at me and says, are you homeless? And I didn't want to say anything because I was embarrassed.
Right.
He says, you're homeless. Here, gave me a 2-month bus pass, sent me to my apartment, and everything led up to where I'm at now. It was the VA, the Veterans Administration. It was somebody saying, Michael, you need help. Yeah. Let me help you.
And you were at a point where you were able to open up and listen to it. And correct. I think sometimes that's the hardest thing, coaching or trying to do some healing work with people and working with them sometimes I find that they're not in a space where they can take help. I've been there too, and I've been in sort of kind of that shadowy, dark area where I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want help. I wasn't going to take it if you offered it to me.
Right.
There was no conditions on it. I just didn't get it because I had to stumble. And I understand that being so stubborn, that there's that too. And sometimes it's the person that comes to you, and at that time, are you ready to take it? And that's important for people who kind of want to push that on somebody.
Your tipping point moment for change comes at a time when you're all alone and survival is your only option.
Right.
For that to take place, some form of negativity has to take place.
Yeah.
So you can all build up to this point to make a decision.
Right.
And the people who help you is part of this process. This gentleman, it was funny. I thought that he was going to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and he says, you need help. He says, you need help. And when it hit me, I'm going like, yes, please don't tell anybody. Yes, I do need help.
But if he danced around the issue and flowered it up and made it all unicorns and rainbows, would you have listened?
No.
And I think that's so important for people sometimes to hear that truth.
Right.
And to be in that moment.
Correct.
Because some people, especially now, I see people just trying to flower things so much. When you're in a point of, at that shadow time where you need to hit that little, that little boy Michael in you, or what happened in your life to get you there, you need somebody to be honest with you and forthright.
This is coming in Vegas, everybody has this perception about Vegas, but the people are really, there's some people here that are really, really good.
Yes.
Okay. And when my car burnt up and forced me to be homeless, there was a person who started a GoFund account.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I got my truck.
Oh, wow.
I never knew her from Adam, but I remember when she called and she goes, I don't know you, but I saw what happened to you and I want to help if you let me. And I said, go for it.
How did she find out about you?
On Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah. I
Awesome.
put the whole thing on Facebook. In fact, my bio, I have a 3-part bio of me. And part of that story is when the car caught fire.
And I've seen your story, and I love that you just are so willing to share. Here's what happened to me.
Now that's the part, it's amazing. I've been in radio and television for over 30 years, and I've watched people do what I do, and I remember there came a point in time that I had to share a personal portion of my life to the public in order for someone to relate to me back.
Right.
Okay? A lot of people have issues with that because you're making it sound like it's all about me. And I'm going like, no. In order for you to relate to me, I have to tell you something about me. And then it clicks like, oh, I did that.
That's the empathy
instead
of the sympathy.
Right. So when I told my story and in fact, I remember my photography took off when I put the bio up.
Awesome.
Yeah, it took off from there. But the journey for me right now is right where it's supposed to be. But I was bound and determined that I was going to be not only a good photographer, I wanted to be the best photographer. And I won't stop until I get there. Right.
And that's a definite drive. And that's you taking your stubbornness and making it, turning it kind of juxtaposition into a drive now.
Correct.
Instead of having it go against you into resistance.
when I got into photography, it was at the point where I was at a bad time in my life. It was so bad that it was so devastating that I remember saying to myself, and I had this camera and I'm driving a truck, I said, if I take a good picture, maybe somebody might like me. That's how bad it was. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that I would get good later on.
But you're also being honest and vulnerable with your photography. This is what you see.
Correct.
It's not what someone's telling you to take a picture of.
Correct.
Unless it's a paying client, because they have a vision, they need somebody else to show them their vision and bring it out.
Correct.
But you're doing you also, and you have that truth in that art form.